There are a number of basic functions on the search page, and I'm going to go through them one at a time. And it is a combination of things, and the more you refine your search, that will dictate the kind of search results you get. The first is the text box. And you can search by keyword, or you can search by organization name. So for example, if you know, and I would say to you, yeah, you could search by organization name, and you can just start typing. So if I know my organization is called the Regina Adult Learning Center, for example, I start typing Regina, and then it presents me with a whole lot of choices of organizational name content in the database that it would like me to pick. And supposing I then start typing something, so if I start typing with a D, you can see that it then gives me fewer choices. So, and actually there doesn't seem to be anything much that, so you can actually go down this list. Whoops, sorry, I need to move my elevator down. So I might be wanting to pick the Regina Cerebral Palsy Parents Group. And if I pick that and search, it provides me with exactly that record based on my organizational name search. Now I'm going to go into looking at records, but I'd like to finish reviewing search first of all, and then we'll look at records after that. So if I return to my search, and in this time instead of keyword of organization name, I start looking for keywords. So perhaps I'm going to pick, I'm looking for food banks. So it's suggesting some things to me that have to do with food banks, and maybe I'm going to say food bank. It's offering me a number of organizations that have the word food bank in the name. But one of the things you can recognize in the database is that the record itself might say the word food banks. And if I put an asterisk at the end of the word, it will find records that say either food bank or food banks, plural. So I can search, and I get 12 records. I can refine my search, and I'm going to use my back button, by saying what it's searching for here is randomly within the record, anywhere where it says food, and anywhere where it says bank or banks. So the record itself might have the word food in the description and the word bank in the building, for instance, and it would still find it. If you want it only to find those records that have the word food and bank together, you enclose it in quotation marks, because then it wants food adjacent to the word bank. And that will eliminate anything that says food one place and bank or banks somewhere else. So if I do that search, I'm going to narrow down. If I quote a search, it's looking for the exact words that I've given, or an asterisk to say anything after that, but they need to be adjacent to one another. I can also refine my search by identifying that actually I want something with this in it that's located where its address is in a particular part of the area served by this database. And you'll see here a number of communities that are listed, and I'm sure that y'all are familiar with what these communities are. So if, for example, you were looking for things that had records that had the word food bank or forms thereof in this community or that community, I can click these and my search result will be different from the one I had where I was looking for it any old place. So I'm going to search. And now you can see that what I have is 2 records instead of 12 records. because in this case, they're both located in a community called Al Ritchie. I'm going to back up again and show you another way to refine it. If instead of actually wanting this food bank's record, whatever it may be, instead of needing it to be located in these two areas, perhaps what I need is just to know that it will serve those areas. In other words, people who live downtown or people who live in the Al Ritchie community. In that case, I pick serving the community rather than located in the community, because my client or myself, I'm looking for something that serves the community that I'm in. So I'm going to do another search, changing this to be serving these two communities as opposed to located in these two communities. And when I click on that, this time I get 9 records that identify that they serve those two communities, but they aren't necessarily located in them. So for example, here's something in North Central, and I'm assuming probably Al Ritchie is a sub-community of North Central. I don't know your community well. I'm sorry that I can't say that with authority. But it identifies that it serves the whole city. And so it comes up to serve those two communities, because if it serves the whole city, then it must also serve all its component parts. I'm watching to see if anybody's needing to ask any questions, and I'm not seeing any. So these are ways that you can have a search for an organization name or program name if you know it, for a keyword. I'll also say that this autocomplete can really help you to suggest the kinds of things that are in the database, because the content of the database has been indexed. And we know that, and because I'm not familiar with your services, it's more tricky for me to do keyword. But supposing I started to type the word counseling, C-O-U-N-S-E. You see what's happening? It's starting to present me with things to see if any of these is what I'm after. But if none of these things is what I'm after, and in fact I just want the word counseling, perhaps what I would do would be to put an asterisk in counseling and then look for it in the keyword search. So it would find counselor, counseling, and so on. And again, I could narrow it down by geography and search. Another way to search, and an aid to you when you're looking for things, is a quick list of services that I believe mostly Angie, although she may well have had assistance that I'm not aware of. The records in the database have been classified when appropriate into a series of quick list categories. And so what you see here are a whole lot of categories of records. And if you are specifically interested in records that have been tagged for immigrants and newcomers, that's what you would pick. If you were looking for counseling, that's what you would pick. So again, you can search for counseling. Let's search that search. We get 88 records. That's a very large list, and in most cases won't be helpful to you because there's way too much to look through. So you would then perhaps use your back button and decide that you were going to restrict this a little bit, and you'd like only counseling that's located in North Central. And let's do that search. Same thing, quick list for counseling, add in a located community search and search. And we're still seeing 21 records, which is still a fair number of search results. Supposing what you actually were looking for was individual counseling, you might well then put in the word individual into a keyword search. So what we have now is a sort of a built search. It's looking for the word individual, looking for things that have a location address in North Central. It's looking for things that have been classified as counseling. And it ANDs together all of those criteria, individual and located in North Central and part of the quick list for counseling search. Now we're down to 7 records. What I'm suggesting to you here is that what you can do with a search, if you get too many search results, is to go back and try to narrow down your search, either by a geographic limitation or by a quick list limitation. If, on the other hand, you don't get enough search results or you get no search results, you may well want to broaden out your search. Use a different keyword. Look for geography that's more widely spread, or a serving search instead of a located search. So all of that gives you some options about how to control your search results. The last thing I'm going to mention, it's not something you would use a lot, but you may well, every record in the, and I'm going to show you that every record in the database has what's called a number or a num. This is it right here. So if you happen to know that the record you were looking for had that number in it, for example, you could do a search for that number and you would get just that one record in your search results. That is not a search that you're likely to use very often, only because you don't want to memorize a bunch of nums. I may have memorized a lot of nums, but I don't recommend it generally for public users. I think you have better ways to use your brain. The other thing that I'm going to point out to you, in addition to this main search page called the basic search, there is also what is called a browse. And in a browse, you're presented with an alphabetical list, or a list of the letters of the alphabet, let me be more clear. And if you click on any one of them, it will give to you a list of everything in the database where the main organization name starts with letter K. Now again, if you know the name of the organization but you're not sure how to spell it, you may find that a browse by alphabet is going to help you to find it in a way that spelling may not, if it's an unusual name. And I'm looking at this First Nation program, for example, and it may well be that this name is not readily spelled by people who are not intimately familiar with the organization. And so a search on letter K, when you know that it begins with a K, might be a faster way to get to it rather than accidentally leaving out the H when you were spelling it and then ending up not finding it. So your critical links across the top, suggest a new record, your basic search. It's always an AND search. This plus anything here plus anything here is a search.